Hello and welcome to ETTelecom's Day 1 panel discussion on the World Telecom Day. World Telecom Day is celebrated globally to raise awareness about the importance of communication technology and how it impacts our lives. And this discussion is incomplete without mentioning the role of handsets. Smartphones have played a significant role in shaping the Indian telecom industry in recent years. The widespread adoption of smartphones has changed the way people communicate, consume media, and access the internet in India. For this panel discussion, we have MediaTek's India Managing Director Anku Jain, Tasleem Arif, Vice President and India R&D Head of Oppo, Navkendar Singh, Associate Vice President of ITC, and yours truly, Danish Khan. So I'll start the session, and my first question is going to be directed towards Navkendar, since he closely tracks the industry and can help in setting the context with the help of numbers. So Navkendar, we know 5G is commercially launched and the rollout is picking pace as we speak. So how do you see 5G now changing the dynamics in the handset market in India?
Thanks for bringing me here. 5G, as you spoke about, 5G is an important step towards, the whole advancement of, where the network will go. And 5G devices as an endpoint, as an access point, are going to be very important. We see that in 2000, first quarter of this year, 5G smartphone is about 45%. So almost every second phone which has been sold in the market is 5G. This should go up to about 60% plus by end of this year, obviously constrained by some of the cost components, component of the cost and the overall cost of the device. It's going to be very important because we've seen that overall smartphone market has stalled. There was a degrowth of over 16% in first quarter, 10% last year, and the replacement cycle has gone up. The only big impetus in the next 2-3 years is going to be when the huge base of about 50 crore, 500 million non-5G, there are about 100 million out of 600 million are already 5G. Those 500 million, they decide to replace the devices and go to 5G, and they want to future-proof themselves. So I think that's going to be a big impetus. And from a network point of view, also mobile operator point of view, also they need to have the consumers accessing the 5G services. So on the 5G devices. So it's going to be very important, going to be very exciting next 2 years if the demand comes back by end of this year.
Sure. So my next question is to Anku, and MediaTek is the chipset provider and it is the leader in the smartphone industry. Anku, now 5G, we know that the first 5G device was launched in 2020. Now we are in 2023. How have you seen the journey of the 5G handset market? And along with that, what is MediaTek's 5G strategy? How do you see, what role do you see yourself playing in incoming quarters or years to come?
So I think, 5G has been a very exciting journey for us in the last 2 or 3 years. And although, the spectrum got launched, the 5G services got launched October last year. But we have seen, as you said, 5G devices already being there in the Indian market. And people had been looking forward to such a service. And now, of course, all of us are enjoying the services of 5G, which are, giving us incredible user experience and speed and so on. And from MediaTek point of view, you mentioned about what is the strategy that we had and we are continuing to have. We had a very long-term strategy of, kind of democratizing 5G in India, because we think it's a very important technology from strategy point of view and from end user experience point of view. So we have had a gamut of 5G chipsets available from MediaTek side, and including the mainstream and the premium segment and all the way up to the flagship. So we have a very large number of chipsets which are 5G enabled, what we call MediaTek Dimensity chipsets. And those have been there for the last 2 or 3 years. And we have been coming up with a new, better and better chipsets. In fact, just today we have launched MediaTek Dimensity 9200 Plus, which is absolutely the great performance and great efficiency and so on. So this is something we'll continue. We'll keep innovating with the chipsets and the components. And I think overall 5G journey is just starting out in India. And we're going to see a lot of excitement going forward. And I think Mr. Singh already mentioned that 45% is the number we are looking at right now. So people, the end users are also very aware of this technology and what kind of benefit it brings to them. So they are also like to be part of the journey.
And Oppo is already there, one of the prominent players in the handset industry, and one of the first players to bring 5G device to the market. So, Tasleem, how do you see currently the demand picking up for 5G handsets? Do you see that we can expect different trends when it comes to consumer expectations, what sort of features they like? While obviously 5G is going to be the key lever or key driver for growth for the industry, how do you see this whole trend thing with respect to consumer and their demands?
First of all, Danish, thanks for inviting me in this webinar. So as you asked, the 5G trend, as you know that Oppo, from the 2019 in Europe, whenever the first 5G was launched in Europe, from that time we are leading the 5G era. And even in India, it started from last year. But from the 2019, when we started launching our devices from Reno 10 onward, then the same time we started analyzing the consumer behavior, that how these things are keep changing. And during this journey, during this almost 3 years journey of the 5G, we realized that the consumer behavior also got changed. Earlier, they were more like content. They used to consume the content, but now they are more towards the creating the content. Earlier, it was more AI thing based on for the photo, because you know that when you do this AI engine, you apply on the photo, then less data is required. But the same thing you apply on the video, then huge data is required, and that their latency played the critical role. So if you see, not only the consumer behavior change with the 5G, but also the technology companies, the OEMs also, the innovation direction is also changed. Now, almost all the recent AI technology innovation is more on the video side. So both from the consumer behavior side, from the technology side, from the company side, the trend is changing, and all due to this 5G. And the demand-wise, as Navkendar mentioned that already in the Q1, approx 45% market shares with the 5G. But the one thing which we got one trend is that earlier it was more on the premium one. But when recently, when we had interviewed with the mid segment, in that approx 72% mentioned that the next model which they will buy, it will be 5G device. And also, if we analyze that, what are the top 3 buying factor, definitely the first one which is coming out is camera with 84%, followed by that battery. But the third most with the 83% is the 5G. So definitely 5G is going to be the next big factor for the consumer to buy the devices. And since if consumer is going for that, then definitely as a OEM, as a smartphone leading brand, we are going to do a lot of innovation in this particular technology.
Right. Navkendar, while both of them have talked about the technology and the consumer demand, but we are also seeing the market realities. We are seeing the signs of inflation. There are macroeconomic challenges. Do you think that will impact the growth of 5G devices? While overall market is degrowing, last year it contracted, and this year also the trend is going to the same. But 5G devices and mid to premium devices, we are seeing some growth. So how do you see the market moving from now? Do you think that these technologies, 5G and camera and other innovation, can give some sort of boost to the market when it comes to enticing the demand in the market?
Oh, absolutely, Danish. For example, last year, India sold about 14.5 crore smartphones, and almost 2/3 of those were 4G. This year, the overall market is supposed to be, we estimate it might be flattish or plus minus 1% here and there. But you have to see that even with the mid premium and the premium, all the consumers who have bought a 4G phone in the past 2-3 years, they will also upgrade to a 5G phone, or even if they bought a 5G phone about 20,000, 25,000, they're also upgrading. So what we are seeing is it's not a premiumization of the market, but at least that segment is growing. And even when they're growing, they have to buy a 5G phone, because it's very difficult to sell a 4G phone about 50,000 right now. Now, obviously, the mass of the market still is below 25,000, and much of it is below 15,000 also. That will take some time, both from SoC vendor point of view, from a demand, and fair amount of pressure they have while the component supplies are getting okay, but inflationary pressures are still there. So there'll still be some time, unless until there's a price war, which happens. There's still some time away where we'll see a below 10,000 5G onslaught of models from the vendors. But I think brands know it, and they will be happy to actually start migrating the consumers, about 20-30 crore consumers who still holding 4G phones. They start upgrading, and then obviously the other factors start playing into play, and possibly by 2024 end or 2024 mid, we'll see an onslaught of models where the mass market lies. So I think it's a 5G growth is not going to stop because of the overall market growth.
Sure. Anku, MediaTek is known for democratizing a technology. For instance, it did the same with respect to 4G. And do you think that MediaTek will play the same role with 5G, bringing down the prices or ensuring that affordable chipsets are available to handset players so that they could launch affordable smartphones? Because as we all know, a good 5G phone obviously is available in 14,000, 13,000 above range. But do you think that to push the demand, price needs to be lower, and for that, affordable chipset need to hit the market? What is your perspective on that?
Okay, first of all, before that, to the previous question which you asked, I totally agree that the 4G to 5G transition is going to be a big boost, big catalyst for 5G adoption going forward. So 5G really holds a very important place for sales in India, because there are a lot of people who aspire to get a better experience, better speeds, and so on. So I think this 4G 5G transition will be a big catalyst. And what MediaTek is doing is that, as I already mentioned, that we are still doing a lot of innovations, coming up with new chipsets, so that we can further democratize 5G as we did in 4G, as you mentioned, right? And so for that, we started with Dimensity 700 chipset, some time ago, and then we have gone into Dimensity 800, 900, and 8100, 8200, 9100, 9000. 9,000 plus. There's so many of chipsets which are available, and that helps our OEM partners to look at the market and bring out a product which is suitable for their customers. So that's the strategy that we have. We are continuing that from 4G strategy, and I think this will still continue. This kind of innovations, we will still coming up with the new chipsets which are going to cater to the market, and so that's how it is. And I think we are still looking at a very exciting time going forward. You mentioned about some tailwinds right now in the macro economy, but the user experience, the user habits have changed also going with time. So it is really, smartphone is really an essential component in everyone's life. So people want to get the best and the best features and the best speeds. So that will continue, and I think over time, the consumption of 5G phones is going to only accelerate.
Right. On the affordability part, I want to have perspective from both Tasleem and you. Do you think that it is kind of difficult to bring prices down because of the high component prices, and to ensure that a 5G phone is a good phone with all the features? Because with 5G, people are also expecting good feature set. Do you think those are the things which is limiting the capability of brands to bring down the prices? Because one, the component prices are high, and secondly, consumers also want the feature set, and brands cannot really compromise on the feature set. So I want your perspective on both. Is it the thing which is going on in the market? Maybe Tasleem can start, or maybe Anku, you can start.
Yeah, I think it's my initial thoughts. I think honestly, the prices are really driven by the brands. So I think Tasleem can answer this better. But what we have seen, observed in the past is that for any technology, given time, prices do come down, right? As the adoption increases, as the volumes increases, the prices become better for the end users. And I think that's a trend which we will also see in 5G phones. There is not going to be much surprise to that. But it's, I think, a matter of time, how much time it takes for that to happen. But over time, I'm sure the affordability factor will kick in, and more end users will be able to enjoy the 5G experience.
Yeah. So from Oppo perspective, that our brand vision is that technology for mankind and kindness for the world. So which means that we want to do whatever innovation we do, we want to go to the mass one also. And that's the reason I can say that all our devices in 5G also we have two technology, NSA and SA. So all our devices, Oppo devices is there in the market, which we are launching last year and this year, all are NSA supported. Even in from the price segment of 10 to 20K also. And even so, if you see the way now this price segment we are going to give, and we already provided the 5G enabled devices in that price segment. So that's not with a big ask for now. So even you can afford the 5G device in A series also, which is the mass segment. And since, as I mentioned, that there's a demand, so that definitely once the demand is high, then we optimize the cost, and that help us to take this latest technology in the mass segment also. And the second most important thing for India is the readiness of the operator side. As you know that even from the last year, although OEM started launching their 5G ready devices and all, but when this September, this spectrum license happened and all, when the operators started working, and from that, so we were the first one. We were the first one who had enabled the maximum SA devices, standalone 5G devices in India. And that all we had done in approximately 2.5 months. And that's all possible because we have the strong India R&D center. We strongly believe that if anything which Indian consumer want, we utilize all our resources to fulfill that requirement. And that's the reason now all our devices which are going to come will have default NSA and SA support. So you can say that now the price segment, it's going to come in across all the price segment.
Sure. My next question is on the other side of the market, the premium market. We have seen the numbers, the agencies, research market agencies have shown that the segment is growing, although it was coming from very small number, but it is growing. And all the brands are now focusing they're trying to bring devices in the mid-premium or premium segment. Even MediaTek is also kind of, they've said that they are bullish on this. So Navkendar, what sort of patterns you're seeing? What sort of consumers are there in premium, and what are their requirements? Because one, the premium growth is happening. Companies are bringing premium devices. They are also bringing new form factors like foldable devices we are seeing in that market. So how do you assess that segment in the market? And what role it is going to play in ensuring that industry is growing, not just in terms of volume, but in terms of value as well?
Right. Taking one step back, I just want to establish that when we see the numbers, overall market is not growing. And let us be clear that to your previous question, it's not because the market is not growing because there are no devices less than 10,000. There are structural problems of consumer demand in the mass segment that has to be established, which is again the other side of the coin is the rich are getting richer, and that's why we've seen above 40,000, about 55% growth last year, and that's not going to abate. That's going to increase only. Now, to your point, one more point is that because of all the brand's marketing effort in the past 2 years, and we were one of the first countries to bring 5G devices in millions of units without even one BTS of 5G network in India, right? Because of China supply was already done, and that's good for the consumers as well. Now, what has happened is that above a certain price point, and I would hazard a guess about 15,000, about $200, let's say, it's very difficult to sell a 4G device, and 5G is a hygiene right now. Nobody would look at a brand's non-5G device above that price point. So 5G is given. Another point is, and I'm sure Anku would agree, when a new SoC is developed, it's not only because of 5G, it brings so many other advancements in terms of cameras, in terms of AI on the device, so many other things. And 5G is also built in there because now if you have to charge at about, let's say, 20,000 plus from a device point of view, it's a decent SoC. It does all the other things. It has, multi, clocking rate and everything. You can't bring, devices which are 4G. So I think we have to understand that, and that is where consumers are saying, okay, 5G is there. Give me a form factor. I'm okay to look at a, interesting form factor. I'm okay to look at a device which gives me much better battery performance and much better camera from my previous device, which I bought 2 years back. I think that is where the replacement is coming right now, and that's why we see growth happening even above 30,000, a lot of growth. that is going to remain this year and next year as well.
I want to obviously know more about the new form factors. While there is a demand in that particular segment, that is why brands are looking at bringing in innovation to differentiate. Foldable is one of the reasons. Well, obviously we know that Apple is already there without the foldable, but other brands are also trying to differentiate. So, Anku, do you think that this innovation, if obviously one, is it really the differentiator in the premium segment, or because people have the money to spend and that's why they want a very good device, which is why the demand is happening? How do you see this market? Is it because of the innovation factor, or are there other factors as well? And then maybe Tasleem could also add, because Oppo also has new form factors in the premium segment.
I think there are multiple innovations which are happening. So foldable definitely is very exciting because in a small phone you can have bigger screen, right? So I think that's having a very good use case where you don't have to carry a phone plus a tablet or plus even a laptop, right? So and that's a very good use case. So that's a good innovation. I think we'll see more and more such phones being launched in the future. But other than that, I think I totally agree with Mr. saying that things like all these chipsets, they are able to support very high-end features, including in like camera, multimedia. So those features are also getting better, right? And I think the end users are getting used to that, and so those are the kind of innovations which are very, very exciting for the users. And from us, from MediaTek, if you see the latest flagship chipset that we have, including Dimensity 9000, 9000 plus, and also 9200 plus, all these are built on 4 nanometer process. So that builds it. So, that's a very huge innovation in terms of providing great computing power to the end user, along with the great battery life or efficiency. So the end users are getting used to this kind of experience, and that's what we feel strongly that adoption will keep increasing with time.
Right, Tasleem, you could like add and bring in the brand's perspective into the premium segment. How Oppo sees the premium opportunity?
Yeah. So if you see the innovation or anything in the technology, three kind of things are there. One is software innovation, second is technology innovation, third is hardware innovation. So the order of expense is in the same one. When you do the software innovation, the expense is not that huge. When you do technology innovation, where the 5G comes and other stuff comes, the expense is more than the software. But when it comes to the hardware innovation, the expense is more. So in this order, the expense also happen. So that's the reason when you have to come up with something which is a little bit more expensive, then always the premium segment is the target segment. And you know that when we talk about the foldable phone or flippable phone, the major thing is that the display, the how to put that display, and the system is major on the hardware innovation, which is the most expensive part. And that's the reason when we give something to the premium segment, we always think that what extra we can give, how they can feel that this is a value for the money for the premium segment also. So that's the reason recently, if you're seeing all the OEMs, including Oppo, we are doing a lot of hardware innovation because we can afford that part for the premium segment. And definitely to start with all this happen with the premium segment, but with the time, when the demand is more, when the manufacturing, the amount, the volume is more, then the same thing will go down to the mid segment and the mass segment. So to just give to the money to the value for the premium segment, and considering that hardware innovation is a little bit more expensive, so that's the reason everyone is doing something more than technology and software, and that's the reason foldable and flippable is coming in the market.
Sure. So moving on from smartphones, I would like to discuss the whole device ecosystem, which may include IoT devices, CPEs, and other connected devices. Anku, do you think that now with 5G coming in, there will be more proliferation of these devices beyond smartphones? And MediaTek is also present in other categories as well. So do you see that it will give a boost to other segments in the IoT domain, CPE domain, or consumer IoT? How do you see 5G enabling all those subsections of the market?
Yeah, absolutely. I think 5G is a basic connectivity technology, right? And so that brings in use cases which you already mentioned. So it'll have a very huge impact on industrial IoT, Industry 4.0. Including things like manufacturing, healthcare, agriculture, smart homes, smart cities, etc. Anything which needs connectivity. Even things like drones having a connected 5G chip inside can relay live agriculture pictures and so on. So there are so many use cases which can come up due to the 5G connectivity. And so IoT is one use case which is looking very, very exciting. And I think in India also we will have more and more proliferation of such use cases. Secondly, you talk about CPE. I think fixed wireless access is also very important use case for rural India. So rural India still has a challenge of having the broadband connectivity. A lot of areas are not connected by broadband. So 5G really solves the problem because having a 5G access is easier than laying a fiber to all those areas. So fixed wireless access will actually kind of democratize having a broadband connectivity across the country. So by end of this year or by early next year, we will have the whole country will be kind of covered by 5G. So that is another aspect which is actually again very specific to India, but it is very, very relevant and very, very important for Indian connectivity. So IoT, we have fixed wireless access, and then of course end user use cases like augmented reality or virtual reality or extended reality. So these are some things which are going to further take further get boosted by the 5G connectivity. So there are, I think, a lot of beyond smartphones, there are a lot of use cases or a lot of applications of 5G which are very, very key to the end users, to the industry, and to even the as a strategy for the government.
Okay. Navkendar, would you like to add, like, since you also look after IoT and the growth, do you see a significant impact that 5G may have on IoT segment?
Yeah, so as Anku spoke about fixed wireless access, the broadband availability in India is frankly abysmal. And which is one of the reasons why smart home my home being a smart home has not really taken off, right? Because we need a good amount of speed to actually run all the devices. So I think that's one of the things. Of course, digital inclusion and everything in the areas where broadband cannot even reach, or fiber cannot reach, it's going to be very important. From a consumer point of view, right now, jury is out that what's the difference to my life after 4G versus 5G. But important piece is the enterprise. And there are three legs there, which we have when we speak to CIOs and CTOs. One is from a private network point of view. So that's going to be big. Obviously, there's going to be some time. And second is the healthcare. Past 2-3 years of pandemic has shown us that actually digital and remote healthcare is the way. Many people now also, while things are open, they say, okay, I can do a WhatsApp call or I can do a video call with you, and maybe you can diagnose and tell us what's the treatment. I think people are more open to it. Second is the education piece. I think that's an important piece where, in both the legs, government's role is going to be important. Education is going to be very important, and how to enable this. And secondly, your remote monitoring and remote consultation for the healthcare. These are the few pillars. 5G is going to be very, very important. It's going to be the bedrock of all these services on which this will be built.
Right. We also discussed innovation in the handset industry, and obviously there are other categories as well. And both Oppo and MediaTek have large R&D facilities in the country. So Anku and Tasleem, I would want to have your perspective on why local R&D is important to cater to the local demand or local requirement, which keep changing. If you kind of give your perspective, maybe Tasleem could give that consumer angle, and maybe Anku could tell us about the prowess that we have in terms of R&D and the role in the large electronics ecosystem.
Surely, let me take this question first. For any technology, at the end, for the consumer is the quality of the product. And when you say quality of the product, then the experience which the consumer faces, that is the quality for the product. So even if the 5G devices are there, which is available, but ultimately the source of is that the operator. If Airtel is launching or Jio is launching, then how well you had integrated, how well you had worked closely with the operator to make your food experience better. And you will and that's the and since we have the India R&D Center in India, Oppo R&D Center in India. And that's the reason why Airtel first 5G demo is done in the Hyderabad only with Oppo. Jio first SA demo is happened with the Oppo devices. So all this first time demo of 5G with different operator is possible to do in Oppo because we have the India R&D Center. Once you have the India R&D Center, then all the stakeholder, either the operator or the R&D Center or the filters, they work closely. And today the reason why across all the OEM, why the Oppo devices are performing better in 5G is all because we had put all we are the India industry first field test across the different cities. When they started the 5G launch in India, we had deployed all our field tester in different cities of in India to test it, that how it's working or not, and that is helping us to give the better experience to our consumer. Even if you see the call dropout, and all the other requirement doing that for this network and all, Oppo is always performing better, and all this is possible because of India R&D Center.
So I like to, take a cue from what Tasleem mentioned. Definitely India R&D Center is very, very important. For MediaTek has been there for last 19 years in India. We set up R&D Center in 2004, so all the way back to that time. And so that started with, we have kind of two parts to this R&D in India. One is about we are the part of global R&D. MediaTek has offices worldwide in several countries. So we are part of the global R&D. We do research and development on several verticals that MediaTek chipsets have. We have so many verticals. So a lot of software aspects and hardware aspect design is being done from India. So that is a big chunk of R&D that we are doing from here. We have two R&D centers. One is in Bangalore with about 500 people, and Noida is about 400. So the overall strength is about 900, which is pretty significant. And so that is one big chunk of work we are doing from India. Secondly, as Tasleem mentioned, I think the local R&D for local support within India is also very, very important. And as we see Make in India picking up speed, I think that requirement is growing faster than we thought, right? And so we have to support, make sure that our products work well in the Indian, Indian operator ecosystem, and with all our friends like Oppo. We work very closely with them, and we want to make sure that our chipsets work very, very well with their design, right? So that support is increasing day by day. And I think so that both these aspects are really important. And from our HQ management point of view, India talent pool is going to be the key for overall global growth for the company. So I think India talent will really play a big role in going forward in the next few years.
Right. And how important is it to work with startups or small scale companies to drive innovation? I know MediaTek also works with the small companies for different form factors, and Oppo already has different programs to work with different startups. So what sort of results you have seen so far working with smaller companies to innovate and to grow the ecosystem further? So I think it's an open-ended question for both the panelists. Oppo and MediaTek both can give the perspective.
Okay, so maybe I can start, and then I'll, So from my point of view, I think overall it's slightly different from your question. That's kind of something which you're going to see for 5G going forward. So people ask, what is the killer use case for 5G, right? That is something which is going to come up from the startups, right? They are the ones who are going to innovate the use cases or the applications of 5G, and they know what kind of business problem they're going to solve. So those kind of use cases are going to really be driven by the startups in India. I think Indian startup ecosystem is doing very, very well. And from MediaTek, from the other point of view, that MediaTek is actually working with some startups, and we want to kind of promote. We know it's a future for them. We also get to learn what are the kind of applications that are going on. So yeah, it is very, very important puzzle or the pieces to the puzzle for the whole story.
Yeah, Tasleem. Yeah.
As you know, in Oppo side, from the last 3 years, we have program like Oppo Elevate and Genius Plus, where we always support the startups. Even for this, we had signed MOU with the Telangana government, Kerala government, and many other states. And we wanted that there are a lot of things need to solve, but all things we cannot solve it. So we had prioritized it. These are the priority for our devices. So we are solving with our resource. But there are many things which we have to solve it, but how to make it and how to provide those solutions for those things also to our consumer. So for that, you need to work with the different stakeholders and all. And a startup is definitely, because whenever the startups comes and start something, they always identify the core problem and then they start building on top of that. So definitely, as a leading OEM, we have to support those startups and to help them and to provide the data which we have, the lab, the technology which we have. We always wanted to provide them, not only in the monetary. Along with that monetary, we also give them our knowledge transfer. And we closely work. In the last 3 years, under that Oppo Innovate and Genius Plus, we have worked approx 30 plus startup closely. And we are seeing that gradually this partnership is going to convert into the good solution. So soon you will see that many solutions which will come out because of this partnership and the investment which Oppo had done with the Indian startups.
Navkendar, a slightly spicier question for you. We know the market is kind of changing, and we are also seeing a change in the ranking as well. Can we see some surprises by the end of this year? Some players emerging as stronger players, or a stronger player losing some points in the market? How do you assess that market, and what will cause that if that happens?
So certainly, 5G might not be the primary reason for that. Let me just put it that way. But surprises, we have already seen from our data point of view, we've already seen in first quarter. We've seen one of the biggest consumer durable brands, Samsung, has reclaimed its leadership position after 5 years. Oppo and Vivo are doing well. Oppo and OnePlus together, they've actually only in the top 5 have grown. So this is also reflective of the focus. I'll not say misplaced focus, but their focus for the past 4 or 5 years of some of the brands which are being challenged right now, like Realme and Xiaomi and others. They had their mass volume still lied below 20,000, and that's what that market is not growing. So obviously it's a reflective of that. I would not see many surprises beyond this time. I think this will remain for this kind of year, unless until something happens by second half of this year, which the mass demand can only happen when the structural problem in the demand comes. But I think 2023 is going to be this kind of year. But we already seen the surprise, and I think I would like to congratulate Tasleem as well. Oppo's good performance, and MediaTek as well has actually gained a lot of share.
Right. Anku, since you are here, I would still, moving beyond 5G, I would want to ask or take your feedback or your perspective on the semiconductor efforts being taken by the government to create an ecosystem. To what sort of role the government is playing, which you think should improve, or is it good enough for you? And do you think that India could play a prominent role once we have the ecosystem? I know MediaTek is a fabulous semiconductor player, and it does not make its own chips, but obviously it will become a consumer of those chipsets if we have the ecosystem. So how do you see this whole effort towards creating the ecosystem in the semiconductor domain in India?
So yeah, it's actually absolutely amazing. What's going on. You can every day in the newspaper you can see articles about some company investing in India for this developing this ecosystem. I think today itself, I think in ET I saw a news article by a minister, and he was saying that we are building the ecosystem here, and that's going to be kind of a base for this overall thing like semiconductor foundries, etc., to build up, right? So that is, I think, looking very promising. This time, last 2-3 years, we have had so many PLI schemes, and those are being kind of being leveraged by the companies, and we have had many partnerships, MOUs, etc. So looking very, very promising, and I think it's a long-term game, right? It's not easy to build up because they need huge investments. So it's going to take a few years. But I think India is very, very well placed to start up with the mature nodes, manufacturing for the mature nodes, and going forward will be even advanced nodes will come up. But it's looking very, very exciting, and I think for MediaTek also it does benefit indirectly.
Yeah, and
right.
And recently that I'm totally agree with the Ankur. The India, our own indigenous 5G stack is an example of that. The initiative which our IT ministry is taking, a lot of not the many stuff like as I mentioned, the 5G stack is the one which is the core of that. And they took the initiative with the IIT Chennai, where the Oppo, we also closely worked with them and supported them in that. So such kind of initiative, it itself shows that how government is serious towards this. And that is helping and motivating us also as a brand to do something more, because when the government also doing a lot of new initiative, new innovation on the technology, then we also feel that how to upgrade ourselves also, so that we can support those things and we can deliver our product.
Right, right. While 5G is the flavor of the season, a lot of chatter is also around 6G. India has launched the vision document. PM Modi released the document, and there are committees which are working involving the uh, IITs and academia and other segments of the industry. Do you think that India can play a crucial role in the 6G standardization? Because a lot of narrative used to be driven by the Western countries, but the bigger markets like India emerging in the technology space, do you think that India should have a larger say in terms of like highlighting their needs and giving contribution towards 6G standardization? Tasleem, maybe on 5G standardization, a lot of work Oppo has done. Do you think that 6G is also going to see the same effort from Oppo? And then maybe Anku can add
Yeah.
from MediaTek's perspective.
We all know that our Prime Minister is a visionary leader. Okay. And the way he initiated the 6G is extraordinary. And that is boosting all in the engineering network, in IT network. I can tell in India, we are very excited with that. In 5G, somehow when it's launched in 2019 in Europe, but in India it's done in 2022. But we analyze from that, and in the 6G we don't want to be delayed, and that's the reason that we took our Prime Minister took the initiative that we'll go for the 6G aggressively. And I know that once our Prime Minister decided on that, the way it will execute, I'm sure that in the 6G technology, India is going to play the key role. Whatever we had learned from the 5G, all our IT ministry, government, and also the engineering ecosystem in India, they learn from this. And in the down the line, we see in the 6G, India is going to lead that one.
Right. Anku, you have things to add on 6G?
Yeah. So
India's role in standardization?
So first of all, from MediaTek point of view, we have been actually working on 6G for last few years already, because these things take time to develop and to get the specs finalized and have the design in place for the end user. And recently we also actually launched our 6G white paper very recently, so that's available in the public domain. And 6G is a few years away, but it's incredible that the PM has already talked about it, and I think the reason is, as Tasleem mentioned, he wants that India becomes, when the 6G is launched, India should be one of the leading countries to do that, right? Because it does take a lot of effort and time to create the infrastructure and to create the ingredients to make it successful. So for 5G we were a few years late, but for 6G probably we will be a part of the leading pack. And it's still away though, I think maybe at least 5 years away from now, when we see the fruits of 6G. But definitely the work is already ongoing. I think one of the reasons, apart from it having a lot of use cases and so on, I think the Indian government does realize that the strategy of, strategic factor of all these technologies, why are they so important in defense and so on, right? So they want to really be up to speed on all these technologies. And I think hats off to them to talk about it.
Right, right. Since we are running out of time, I would want to have one concluding comment from each one of you. Maybe Navkendar can start, since he has a lot of data to back the statements he makes. So Navkendar, you can go first.
So 5G is going to be the bedrock of the device adoption in the next few years. It is going to drive a lot of replacement in 2023, 2024, and beyond as well. But this might not be enough to get the market clocking at that rate, because those 600 million, 60 crore will be replacing the devices. to get the people who do not have a phone right now on 5G, possibly first-time 5G users, and a lot of 4G who cannot afford if the economic headwinds for them are okay. Then I think the device affordability will be a key. But I don't think the industry expects this to happen before mid of next year or second half of next year. So I think 5G is going to be very exciting for the next 2-3 years. That's going to be the key driver of growth for India's smartphone market.
Sure. Tasleem, you have any last concluding comment to make?
Yeah, see, now 5G is just enabler now. It's become a hygiene for device. So now it's not restricted with the device. It's an enabler for the technology. And I can see that in next 1 or 2 years, a lot of AI-based technology innovation is going to happen. And that will indirectly support to build that ecosystem, the thing which we are telling, which I keep talking about, the IoT and all, which is the ecosystem. So I'm sure that in next 1 or 2 years, a lot of innovation will happen on technology, which will indirectly support the IoT, which will make it more popular in down the line.
Right, right. Anku?
Yeah, so we feel that 5G is going to play a very important role in coming years, several years, not only 1 or 2 years, it'll be several years. And as we see more and more penetration of 5G devices and also other kind of products, 5G enabled products will get more and more adopted. I think that is a very exciting story for MediaTek. We want to keep innovating and create more chipsets which can cater to the different use cases or different applications of 5G chipset. So we like to continue to do that. And so India is a very, very important market for MediaTek. There's no second to that. And so we're really excited about that.
Right, right. So I think on that note, we can safely conclude this session. Thank you, everyone. Thank you, Navkendar, Anku, and Tasleem, for taking out time for this on the occasion of World Telecom Day. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Our pleasure.
Have a good day. Bye-bye.